This is 100 LEGO minifigures from 100 different countries, and today they're all competing in the LEGO Olympics. I'm building a massive stadium to simulate each of the different games and challenges inside, and we'll see which country wins the ultimate gold medal at the end. So let the games begin. First things first, let's build a running track that'll go at the center of the stadium. I want 3 lanes separated by thin white lines, except the thinnest tile and plate pieces I have are still a bit too thick for this scale. So I had to get a little creative and build the entire thing sideways like this. Now the lines are the perfect proportions for the runners to fit between, and I'm able to lay out some base plates and continue building the rest of the track. However, it does make the corners a lot more complicated. Rounded curves like this rough outline of the stadium I sketched out are already hard enough to make with LEGO, but trying to build one sideways from 2 different directions was almost impossible. I spent hours trying to figure out the intricate geometry on this thing using a ton of tiny plates, and the final results definitely isn't perfect. I don't like how jagged it is, but if we cover up some of the ugly gaps with wedge plates, it is still kind of satisfying to see it all come together like this. Thankfully, I was able to quickly copy and paste the exact same design on each of the other 3 corners, and now we're finally ready for the first running event to begin. The 100-meter dash, which does not use the corners. Awesome. Instead of using stop motion and basically just scripting which countries won which events like I was originally planning, I thought it would be way more interesting to simulate each game with some quick IRL challenge that you can try at home. So for running, each of us is going to control one of these athletes and race to see who can go the fastest while staying in the lines. If you leave your lane even once, you're eliminated. Ready, set, go. After a tense race and France instantly being eliminated, Malta ended up winning. Nice. Okay, now it's time to try a full lap. Go. Where we all took things a bit slower, especially around those corners. Who built this? But in the end, the Finnish Finn from Finland finished first. That's fun to say. And for the final level, we tried adding hurdles to jump over and not knock down. And it looks like Jamaica joins the 2 other countries who won medals in this event. And they get to move on to the final round at the end of the video that will decide who the ultimate champion is. But until then, all the athletes and spectators are gonna need somewhere to sit. So I bought 1,000 of these gray 2x4 bricks to build up the stadium seating. Hopefully this will be enough, I don't actually know. We'll start by adding several layers onto the back in the stair-step formation that fits about half of the minifigures, and this railing here is to keep them from falling onto the track mid-race. I've decided not to seat anyone on this front side so as to not block the view, but I will build the left and right side so we can at least fit the rest of the athletes. And then to fill in the gaps, that means struggling for another several hours figuring out these 3D corners. But it was so worth it, because now the crowd is going absolutely wild, especially this guy that the comments named Perry. Perry used to love running as a teenager, but after his accident, he had to get both legs amputated. Ever since then, it's been his dream to go see the Olympics in person, so he could live vicariously through some of the greatest athletes on the planet, even if he can't run himself anymore. They're all united under the 5 rings of the Olympics logo, and I built a big back wall to the stadium using the last of my gray bricks to attach it to, along with some torches and this leafy wreath. Now we're finally ready for the next sport, archery. These sharpshooters have been practicing their aim for years, hitting countless targets and Walmarts in their pursuit to become the best of the best. I used some macaroni tiles to build these designs based on official Olympic targets, with the goal obviously being to hit the bullseye. By stretching a rubber band across this LEGO Technic frame, we can make a super simple bow that launches these suction arrows I made using the cut-off tips of Nerf darts. Now, whoever gets closest to the middle wins. Look at that, Latvia is right on the money. She wins the gold. All right, if I hit that target that says subscribe from all the way across the city, you have to do it. I mean, speaking of which, yeah, this whole Olympic stadium is temporarily being hosted inside my LEGO city called 25ville. During my lifetime, the Summer Games have been held in Athens, Beijing, London, Rio, Tokyo, and now Paris. And I can see why no one wants to host it anymore. The thing literally takes up half my table. And the barn that used to be here had to be deleted to build the track from its pieces. And since Perry recently moved here to see the Olympics, he's gonna need a place to live as well. Man, I need a bigger table. But we have to make room inside the stadium as well to build the arena for the next event, martial arts. I laid down this wooden floor pattern with some cushiony blue mats and a raised platform surrounding everything. I don't know, this was my reference image. These racks are to store all sorts of traditional weapons like knives and nunchucks, because in this sport, there's two fighters dueling each other. But because that's pretty similar to an event coming up, I had a different idea for a way to test the skills of these martial artists. Breaking boards. Brown Lego pieces are super brittle for some reason, and will just shatter if you look at them funny, so they're the perfect thing to use. Hi-ya! Or so I thought. It didn't matter how many times I tried smacking each poor minifig onto these things. Concussion after concussion after attempting it with the nunchucks and another concussion. Maybe fighting each other would have been less painful. Eventually, Costa Rica's board started to weaken, and everyone just teamed up to finish it off for him, so we could finally just be done with this nonsense. Let's not have them attempt to break metal and instead build Perry's house with it. Unfortunately, he's never been able to keep a steady job without legs. And all he can afford is a scrap metal shack using a bunch of grill pieces as corrugation. It's definitely pretty lonely in there, but it's home. Hopefully though, this next event will cheer him up. Gymnastics. I laid out an even bigger blue mat to avoid any more head trauma with all the crazy flips and stuff the gymnasts do. I don't know how any of this is humanly possible, but I built some simple equipment to test if it's possible for minifigures. We all tried racing on the balance beams without falling off. And to make it even harder, Ireland will be swinging on these rings to try to knock people down. I couldn't get the transition between uneven bars to work. That one might actually be impossible. So instead, we're just testing who can get the most number of flips on one of them. Lebanon, all right. And using a Lego net as a trampoline, let's find out which country can bounce the highest. I don't know what happened there, but the Philippines secured the gold on that one. Absolutely no clue what I'm supposed to do with a pommel horse, but the next event, Equestrian Sports, has actual horses. These jockey minifigures suited up and picked out steeds to ride with the best possible abilities. And as funny as it would be for them to just run on the human racetrack, I instead designed this special horse course for them in the middle with these barriers to jump over. And here's the prize for whichever horse makes it through the fastest. Go! Oh, and Chile overtook Switzerland at the end. What an upset. But enough horsing around, it's time for some weightlifting. Lego makes official dumbbell pieces, but you can build your own custom weights by connecting bar pieces to these Technic balls, tires, round plates, tires, black minifigure heads, tires, round bricks, and tires. Pretty much just a bunch of tires. But to test which athlete can lift the most weight without getting tired, they're each gonna hold a plate that I can stack bricks onto. And whoever can carry the most bricks without dropping any. Oh wait, we have a last minute entry. This is Victoria, and she seems awfully confident for some reason. She even built an entire personal gym for her to train in that'll go behind Perry's shack. On the inside, it's got a treadmill, exercise bike, lots of different weights to lift, a punching bag, and a whole bunch of bottles of this new energy drink she recently got sponsored by. All she had to do was promote it and hook up this machine to the Oasis, and the company gives her free drinks for life. Finally, I added the biggest weight of all on top of the roof. No. Let's reinforce that real quick. On top of the roof as a decoration for the gym sign. Short for Jimothy. But anyways, sorry, let's get back to the actual event. And after 28 bricks, Malaysia crumpled. And the surprise newcomer takes the victory on this one. That means her city is moving on to the final round. Perry was absolutely smitten by her incredible strength and desperately wanted to find a way to talk to her. But now she was sitting over in the athletes section and he knew it was impossible for him to join them. Unless... Well, now it's on to tennis. I had to use even more geometry, slotting in these 3 sideways chunks to create all the different lines on the court. And then stole these fence pieces from the audience to make a super simple net. Like with weights, there are official Lego tennis rackets, but you can always create your own using whatever pieces you have on hand. I certainly made a real racket while I was trying to build this thing designed by Lion Bricks, and I'm gonna hit tennis balls with it, which by the way are surprisingly satisfying to open, aimed at these 4 athletes to see who can last the longest out there. Ready? Huh, alright, plan B, table tennis. Yeah, Olympic ping pong is a real thing and they stand like 10 feet back from the table, it's crazy. So hopefully this Lego ping pong paddle holds up better than the last one. Hey, this is actually kind of fun. And after several attempted shots, Germany was the lucky one who got the gold. Now let's fix this carnage so that everyone in the crowd is all back to normal. Except, hey, where's Perry? He tore down the only home he had left to smelt down all its scrap metal. His heart was set on doing the impossible, and no one was going to stop him now. But next up is boxing, where we actually get to fight this time inside this boxing ring, surrounded by these ropes. To make it a playable minigame, I had to think outside the box by building this groove inside the box. And that lets you use these handles to control both boxes around, to dodge his punch, then counter punch. You win each match by knocking the other guy out, like that Rock'em Sock'em Robots game. I made this bracket to see who would end up on top, and eventually, Canada won. Probably because they have a whole day for it. But now let's speedrun through some miscellaneous events, like the long jump, high jump, javelin, discus, pole vault, basketball, soccer, beach volleyball, breakdancing, skateboarding, cycling, and rowing down the river. I was going to hold the next event, swimming, in the river as well, but let's build a pool inside the stadium instead. I laid down a bunch of window pieces to contain the thousands of clear blue studs I'm using for water. Not sure if this is technically Olympic size or not, but I used even more studs to stack up as these dividers to go between the lanes, and it's good enough for what we need. Now for the simulation. Which of us can complete the most laps pulling our swimmers through the water while holding our breath? Ready, set, go. Norway lost by laughing, I think Guatemala drowned, and Japan ended up winning. Okay, now we're gonna have to modify the pool a bit for the penultimate event, diving. It's a lot skinnier and deeper now so that the divers don't break their neck jumping off of this super tall high dive. Although now if they miss the entire pool from way up here, that might be an issue. But the way we're scoring this is seeing who can get the fewest studs to splash out of the pool. Denmark, nice, that's the birthplace of Lego. Now for the final event to see which country wins it all, the Paralympics. Normally, these are a completely separate competition for athletes with disabilities. But to make things more dramatic, I'm having everyone who's won a gold medal so far choose one representative from their country to compete in one final race to see who the ultimate champion is. We've got minifigs who are blind, deaf, in wheelchairs, and missing limbs who are all way stronger than I am, ready to go from every finalist team except Victoria's. She was planning to win this by herself and doesn't have anyone to represent 25-ville. Except for Perry. With his newly forged prosthetic legs, he was finally able to run again for the first time in years. He joined everyone in the starting line, ready to impress Victoria, and they were off. If anyone out there has a physical and/or mental disability, just remember that it doesn't define you. There are always creative ways to work around your limitations and still do the things you love. If you want to help amputees like Perry who can't afford prosthetics, you can do your own research and donate to A Leg to Stand On through the fundraiser on this video so that no one has to take apart their house like he did. But it was all worth it because Perry won and received the ultimate gold medal. Shout out Philippines and Bolivia as well. Comment what country you're from down below. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
First try.